And welcome back to the Avidknits podcast. My name is Sarah. I'm going to be your host today. You can find me on Instagram and Ravelry and the YouTubes, all as Avidknits. Very simple. I did start a Ravelry group, also known as Avidknits. If you would like to go over there for show notes or for just general chatter, I'm hoping we can build some community in that way. And maybe if I get any interest on it, maybe we'll start a knit along, like everybody else does. That way we can all chat, and that would be great. Today is March 27th, 2019. It is Muslim Women's Day, so happy Women's Day to all my Muslim followers. That's fantastic. It'll be late by the time you see it. I apologize for the tardiness. Today, I don't have any finished objects to show you. Life, okay? My son started public school on Monday. That has been a pretty rough transition. He does fine with the schoolwork and stuff. When you homeschool, you don't spend 8 hours doing anything, really. He kind of gets to do what he wants whenever he's done with his school. So the waiting on other people, and he is an only child, so I think he gets a little fried. He gets a little overwhelmed with all of the kids and stuff like that. So we had today's been our hardest day. It sucks. He's usually really positive, very happy. He always has something good to say, and the last couple of days have just been a side of him I've really never seen, and so it's sucking. I'm not gonna lie. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Another reason I don't have a finished object for you today is because I ended up having to rip way back on my Ingalls sweater. I was probably a good 4 inches past the sleeve separation, and I had to rip all the way back to the very last row of the yoke. And it's my own stupidity, you guys. When I decided to do this pattern, I didn't want to make a DK weight sweater. I live in Houston. And don't get me wrong, I have DK weight sweaters. I don't mind them. This is something that I wanted that would be a little bit more transitional. Plus, I had the yarn in stash. So I wanted it to work for me. And I find that I really enjoy my fingering weight sweaters a lot more. I wear them all the time. Layering is a lot easier. We talked about this last time. I'll let you off the hook. However, with the Ingalls sweater, it's supposed to have 17 inches of positive ease. And when I was doing the math, I basically ended up with the same numbers that I was supposed to have for right here at the bust, just your bust measurement. Well, after I finished the yoke, the next row is an increase row. You increase every 4 stitches or something, and it didn't even occur to me. It didn't even occur to me that I wasn't going to want to do that. What it does is it gives the sweater that bell shape so that it ends up being super flowy. And since I don't want any of that, y'all, I added 60 stitches. What was I thinking? Why did that not even occur to me that this is a terrible idea? I shouldn't be doing that. So I had to rip all the way back to before the sleeve separation. Womp womp. And it's very sad. And now, I'm back to having just, this cute little sort of thing, and I'm very sad about it. I'm very depressed. Not because I made a mistake, but because it's the 3rd time. So it's gonna be fine. I'm back, so I'll just knit my next round, and then I'll do my sleeve separation, and I'll be back on board, right? Because I don't want any of that shaping. Yeah, but for a little bit there, y'all, I was gonna put it in a bag and be like, I'm gonna start something completely new. I'm gonna start a new one in the same yarn. I just don't want to touch that part anymore. It was really bad. I didn't have a great plan for that. But again, my sweater is knit out of, main color is Hedgehog Fibers in their sock base. It is a 90% merino, 10% nylon. I got that wrong last week. Sorry. It's the colorway Graphite, and it's this really beautiful kind of, it's not charcoal and it's not black. It's right in between. And then my contrast color is this really pretty pink here, and this is Life in the Long Grass in her fine sock, and that is the colorway Simper. That is a 75-25, I believe. So that's my sweater I don't know, drama, I guess, my sweater drama, my sad ending. So to make up for that, I thought I would bring out another one of the sweaters that I already have. Grace from Babel's Traveling Yarn just got back from Edinburgh Yarn Fest, and if you guys went to Edinburgh, the jealousy is high. Okay, the jealousy is just so extreme over here. I have wanted to go to Scotland my whole life, like before it was cool, before Outlander, before anybody knew about it. I've always wanted to go. That's always been like the top of my, when I go overseas, this is where I want to go. And my goal was to go overseas by the time that I was 30, but life intervened and it didn't happen, and that's fine. I'm cool with that. 35 though, not a day later. I had like a year and almost 2 years, so it'll be okay. I can make it happen, right? Anyway, in her Edinburgh Yarn Fest video, she talks about how she received a skein of this really beautiful bright green and yellow yarn, and it's from Manos del Uruguay, and apparently one of the ladies from the company was able to bring it to her. I might be remembering that story wrong. I'm so sorry if I am. But it is their Alegria base, which is a sock base. And she had commented on how soft it was and how amazing it was, and she didn't really know what it would be and if it would work for this or work for that. You guys, I have a sweater out of the same yarn. I couldn't decide what I wanted this to be. It was when I very first started knitting, and it was the very first time I'd ever been to Seattle. My husband took me to Serial Knitters, and I bought a sweaters quantity. I was like, I'm going to make a sweater. I want to do it. This is my very first sweater. And it took me a year, y'all, a year and some change to find a pattern that I just really loved, that I thought was going to work great for the yarn. I had so many patterns I tried. I probably knit this yarn and then frogged it 5 times. Easily 5 times, if not 6. Like, I get to the underarm thing or the split for the sleeves, and then I hate it. It's the yarn isn't working with it. The design doesn't work with it. I don't like the fit. I think this is boring. It was bad. Finally, I found the painting sweater, and if I can figure out how to work my editing software, you guys, the struggle. If I can figure out how to work it, I will drop a picture in here. I will start doing that if I can figure it out. I just couldn't figure it out last week and gave up. Anyway, the painting sweater, it's by Katrin Schneider, and it is designed specifically for those skeins of super speckly yarn. It was when indie speckle first started being the thing, and it was meant specifically for those speckled yarns that you didn't know what to do with. And it's just a really casual, no shaping, not boxy, just a casual sweater that you can wear with some jeans. And I was like, that's it, I have to make that. And I did. And you guys, I wear it all the time. This is my favorite sweater ever, and I wore it all day until I had to go pick up my son. We're close enough to walk, so I walked it, and you guys, spring is coming in with a vengeance here in Texas. I don't know what happened. We've been in the 35-40 range for months, like 3 months, which is a little unusual for Houston, but you know, I'm not going to complain about it. It's sweater weather. And it was like, oh, the first day of spring came, and normally we kind of have like a 60 degree, 70 degree, kind of like a little gradual hill. It's not a big hill. It doesn't take long to get there, but it is a gradual hill. And no, the first day that it was over 50, it was like 85. The really great advantage of living in Houston and practically on the coast is that it doesn't usually get too high numbers-wise, over like 93, 95 might be our top usually. Yeah, your heat index might be a little higher, but because of the breeze off the coast and stuff, we're pretty temperate. As long as you're out of the city, it's not too horrible. The humidity is that's a whole other story though. That has nothing to do with anything. I just watched Amy of the Stranded podcast, and she gives a weather report, and apparently I must just like be comparing my weather to her weather, and mine's a lot hotter. Anyway, my painting sweater. So if you're looking for a really simple raglan pullover that is going to accent a variegated yarn you have, or a speckled yarn, or you just really like it, you want to throw it on with some jeans, I highly recommend the sweater, and I super recommend the yarn. I have never depilled this. Never once. And there is so little pilling that I don't even know what to say. It's like, it's amazing. It's an absolutely amazing yarn. And I frogged it, like I said, 5-6 times. And you would have never known. It was just as perfect and just as bouncy and just as wonderful the 7th time I knit it as it was the first. So that is my endorsement. If I were to make it again, because I probably will, I will bring it in a little bit. I did make the 38-inch size, which should have been a touch of negative ease for me. But because of the properties of the yarn, obviously, it grew just a little bit. I probably wouldn't change the size. I'd probably just go down a needle. But I did knit this on pretty small needles. I think I ended up knitting it on like 3s or something. Anyway. I don't know. The fabric doesn't seem right for that. Maybe my gauge has gotten looser as I've gone on. Who knows? Yeah. So that is, the sweater to make up for the sweater I don't have. Yeah, so we'll keep on with works in progress, I guess. My next thing that I have been working on is a pair of socks that lives in my car. Every vehicle has a ball of yarn and some needles tucked into like the cubby or the glove compartment or something. My husband likes to say, hey, let's go run this errand. And then whenever we're done with that errand, he'll be like, so you want to get coffee? Or, I was thinking we should maybe buy this thing, or we'll end up in, I don't know, Midtown or something for pho or Thai food or something. Anyway, who knows? And then I'm stuck in a car for like 40 minutes, thanks Houston. And then I don't have any knitting. And oh my God, it's crazy. So I started tucking random balls of yarn. It's great. Which means that this little tiny pair of socks has been languishing in my glove compartment for months. Fun fact about me, I do not knit socks. I knit socks. I do not knit socks above my ankles. I will not wear them. I don't know if it's the way that my calves are shaped. I don't know if it's that I just don't care enough to have them long. I've never been a long sock fan. I've always worn ankles, always worn no-shows. So if you do like no-show socks and you're having trouble finding a sock recipe that you really enjoy, let me back that up. If you're having trouble finding your personal sock recipe, no-show socks, ankle socks, a really phenomenal pattern that I cannot recommend any higher is going to be the Rose City rollers. And I kind of hack the Rose City rollers. I really like them the way that they're made. But I use the same pattern. I mean, that pattern was what allowed me to find my recipe and allowed me to find the recipe for my family. So me and Hector get the little roll cuffs, because I don't mind them. I think they're cute and they fit me fine. My husband's not a huge fan of that. So really what I do is I, instead of knitting, I knit 15 rows from cast on before I start my heel flap. And on my husband, instead of knitting 15 rows, I knit 10 rows of a cuff and then 5 rows of body or 7 rows of body. His feet are obviously bigger than mine. Not obviously. You've never met him, right? Okay. His feet are bigger than mine, so I give him a little extra room. The thing that I do not follow about in the pattern is the heel flap, and that's just because I purchased the Vanilla Latte sock pattern by Knitting Expat, so Mina Phillip, and in it, I'm pretty sure it's the Vanilla Latte. I'll tell you if it's not. I'm sure it's not now that I'm talking about it. Anyway, in it, she has a mini heel flap adjustment, and I am totally probably lying, but I think you might be able to buy that separately. Anyway, so that's what I use, because a normal gusset, then my heel is really baggy. I am so picky about my socks, you guys. I like a really snug negative ease sock. Yeah, but anyway, so this is them, so you can see my little decreases or whatever there, and my little heel flap. This is Madeline Tosh sock in the colorway Spectrum. It is I want to say it's a 75-25. But anyway, so I've had this for a long time. I made my first husband's mother they live in Puerto Rico. They're from the island there, and I made her a pair of socks. shortly before the big hurricane. So shortly before our combined horrible hurricane season. And she loves them. You know, the islands I have discovered, not just Puerto Rico, a lot of the tropical islands or that equatorial belt tend to really rely on crochet. And I'm not sure if that's just because, I'm not sure if that's because the fabric that you get tends to be looser. It's really awkward talking to a phone still, so sometimes I go off on a tangent and then I realize that you can't read. There's no transcripts. I'm working on it. Okay, guys. Anyway, I made her a pair of socks, and this is what I had left out of the skein. So for me, I can get a pair of adult ankle socks size 7 or 8 and still have half a skein left easily. It's really nice whenever you have scraps, but it's really frustrating because then you have never-ending scraps because, you know, I'll throw one in a blanket. I'll throw some over here. I'll make heels out of this one, and I have yarn for days. Each skein of yarn will easily make me an entire family of socks. I can make my husband a pair, me a pair, and my son a pair out of the same ball. And if I do contrasting heels, toes, and cuffs, I'll have leftovers. Nuts. It's crazy. Who would have thought that you would ever complain about having too much of something? I'm just gonna get better about that. Let's see. What else do I have to talk about to you? Oh, yeah. So, some of you probably don't know this. None of you know this. This is new. I sample knit. There's a lot of patterns out there that I want to make, but I'm not going to wear. Or I don't like them, or I'm not going to use them. The Ingalls pattern, as written, is one of those things. I'm not going to wear that. But I want one, so I just kind of hacked my own, right? Well, sometimes you end up with a sweater that has a detail that looks kind of like fun to make, but I'm not going to wear it. And a really good example of that is also another Caitlin Hunter pattern. We're just on a kick. It'll move, I promise. And it's called the Little Cabin Pullover. I'll pop a picture in it if I can figure it out. And you guys have seen this sweater. It's been out for a while. It's got baubles, and then it's got like a textured yoke. And it's really pretty. It's really cute. I will never wear it. The bauble thing, I won't do it. That's just my personal style. It's my personal thing. More power to you if you did it. I've seen some absolutely beautiful ones. So I am friends with the dyer behind Autumn and Indigo. Her name is Claire. I know I talked about it last time when I couldn't remember her color name, and she texted me and she was like, I can't be, she was like, Autumn Rose in big capital letters to remind me what it was. You know, when you're yelling at somebody through the screen, like, don't go through the door. So anyway, she asked me if I would, if I had a slot open, if I would sample knit for her. And I said, yeah, I would totally do that. And she sent me some really, really pretty yarn to make the sweater out of. It's in her classic worsted, which is a 100% superwash merino wool. You get 218 yards per skein. It's a 4-ply, and it is in the colorway Aged Bronze. If you've never used any of Claire's yarn, I definitely recommend it. She used to be based in South Carolina, and she and her family just recently relocated to Washington. So she is now a Pacific Northwester and totes jealous. So I made a joke on my stories yesterday that I think she missed her calling on the name because she can call it Aged Bronze, and that's super fancy. But to me, it looks like Kansas wheat fields, you guys. And as somebody who has driven through that state a lot, I think I would know. No, it's very, very pretty. It's just this really subdued kind of goldy color. You know, you get little flecks that are more pronounced than others. So here it is on the cake. It's really, really lovely. I have to say that I am knitting this at a DK gauge, and my fabric is turning out fantastic. I'm really enjoying it. My measurements are still on. I got gauge. Everything's fine. To me, her worsted feels a little bit more like a DK. So I definitely wouldn't put it in the same kind of category as like a Brooklyn Tweed worsted, like their Shelter. I feel like that kind of edges more towards Aran. But yeah, I really like it. It's very nice. The texture is turning out really pretty. So you can see my little baubles here. Caitlin Caitlin Hunter does make a note on her pattern that she had a tester who said that she was having to wrap her baubles in order to keep them up, because otherwise what they do is they kind of fade into the fabric and then you would get like a flat spot. Mine won't do it because I wrap my baubles. But when you wrap them, it keeps them sticking out. So what you do is you create your bauble, and then you just move your stitch over to the next needle, and then, you know, bring your yarn around and then take it off and do it again. So it's just like a wrap and turn. You just do it twice instead. And then also what I'm doing, when I get done with that and I get done with my bauble, I knit through the stitch through the back loop to twist that stitch. That way it cinches everything in and everything stays nice and tidy. And on here, living, I have my little progress keeper. This is the... There. It is a little full moon charm from Sucra Miniatures. I think it was made for the wolf moon, maybe the worm moon. Anyway, she has a little moon phase collection, and they're super sweet. Yeah, and it was very pretty. So, in case I am talking too fast, which tends to happen quite a bit, this is her card. So that, let me cover that. There we go. So this is her card, so you can find her. She's on Instagram too, and she does absolutely adorable little things. I'm sure that you all know who she is, and you've all heard of her, and this is just me preaching to the choir. But yeah, so those are my works in progress, and they're coming along really nicely. I also swatched for another one. I'm not sure if that company wants me to discuss that on podcast, so let me get verification on that before I talk about the details of it, but I will show you my swatch, which is absolutely beautiful, and it's going to be cables, so that's very pretty. I hope that texture is showing up on the screen. Yeah, so I finished those the other day. My annoyance with the Ingalls sweater this morning got me to thinking about how I rarely find things that I really like. I like the fit of a set-in sleeve. So, you know, the first thing anybody ever tells you who's a big sweater knitter will tell you, find your favorite sweater in your closet, bring it out, find out what it has that you love, and try to recreate it. Like, see if you can find a pattern that's going to have those elements in it. And I did. So my absolute favorite sweater in my closet is this one. And it is a V-neck with set-in sleeves. So they're not, I can't tell if they're dropped because my neckline does come down. So I will say maybe dropped. I'll have to kind of research that a little bit more. I'm pretty sure that they would be dropped because my armhole is down my arm. So they would be drop sleeves. I'm sorry. It's about a 3/4 sleeve length. It has maybe 2 inches of ease and it's relatively cropped. So it's just adorable. It's my favorite sweater and it's lightweight and it's cozy. I can wear it with anything, anytime. It's good for spring. It's good for fall. It's good for summer. And I'm afraid it's going to wear out and then I'm not going to have anything anymore. So I finally broke down, and this is a purchase that is so long in coming, and I should just really be, yelled at for not buying it sooner. And it's this book. It's called The Knitter's Handy Book of Top-Down Sweaters, Basic Designs in Multiple Sizes and Gauge by Ann Budd. And this book covers top-down knitting, so seamless, raglan, set-in sleeve, saddle shoulder. And the really wonderful thing about this book is that she basically just gives you all of the answers. So, you get options for, let's say, the seamless yoke. You want to make a seamless yoke. You get options for child sizes. You get options for adult sizes. You get options for everything. The sleeves, how big you want your sleeves to be. All of her information is set up by the finished bust size or the gauge that you have achieved on your own. And so I was looking through this and I found out, obviously not found out, but she'll have a section that says set in sleeves, and then she'll tell you how to do that if you want to make that a cardigan. Did you want to make it with a boat or a crew neck? Did you want to make it with a V-neck? Did you want to steek it? What did you want to do with it? And she tells you exactly how to do that in this book. if grading patterns wasn't so hard, I could be a designer. Real talk, I don't really have any interest in designing, other than for myself. That's not to say there won't ever be a sweater pattern, or any pattern, but don't hold your breath. That's not really my thing, I don't think. Yeah. So, I talked about my Sucre miniature and how cute my little thing is. And I have another knitting jewelry thing that I'd like to share with you. And I'm kind of disappointed in it right now because it broke. The end came out of the clasp. I just need to put some epoxy or some super glue and then stick it back in there. It still holds, you know, the little thingy still holds. It just isn't as secure as I would like it to be. But it does have a magnet in it. This is a stitch marker bracelet. It's from Magpie Fibers. And I bought mine from Tolt Yarn and Wool. And you can order them online, which is really fantastic. And it's just a leather cord. Like I said, your clasp has a magnet in it to help you get it back in. And you get 8 or 9 little stitch markers and this really pretty feather one as a progress keeper, and I don't ever take it off of this. This is just for me, it's just for pretties, and I need to fix it. But other than that, it's been a really good wearing a piece of jewelry. The one issue I have is that this tiny little nub, that tiny little thing, catches on my stitches on my hand knit sweaters when I'm wearing them, and then pulls one stitch all the way out, or not one stitch, one strand, and you can't really fixing that is so hard. That's my only complaint, though. I could just create, since that one side broke, I could just pop them both off and find a different kind of clasp, and I could solve my entire problem all by myself. So yeah, so that's it for knitting. So, I'm going to move on to, I don't know, the part of the podcast where we just chat about what's going on in my life, if you want to stay and hear some of that. If not, I will see you hopefully next week. I'm planning on making this every week, maybe every 2. I'm still trying to settle out how much knitting I can get done. My kid being in school has afforded a lot of hours that I don't really know what to do with, so I kind of end up, you know how the indecision goes. You know, you get annoyed with a pattern, or you just aren't kind of feeling it, and then you look up and you've spent 2.5 hours on Ravelry searching for something that you don't even want to make, you know. So that is not what happened to me today. Promise. So yeah, school has been rough. My son is inordinately positive. I've never met a more positive human being in my entire life. My child always has a smile. He always has something kind to say. He's always enthusiastic, which is great. You know, he helps level me out a little bit, which is, you know, awesome. And the last 3 days I have been the most down I have ever seen him. We're talking pneumonia didn't take the smile off his face. So I'm sure that a lot of it is just that he's tired and it's new and there's a lot of new people and a lot of new things to learn. You know, he's walking in definitely in the middle of the year. So there's adjustment periods and stuff. But I guess as a mother, it still kind of hurts my heart to see this side of him. I've never seen this side of him before. So we're trying to work through that. We're trying to adjust with that. Other than that, there really isn't much going on over here. We had a family member get into an auto accident this past weekend, so there was a little bit of drama on that. Everybody's fine. Everything's fine. We took my dog to the dog park, and he ripped the pad on his foot. So then I felt like a really bad owner. He's fine. Everything's fine, you guys. It's just one of those weeks. So, yeah, it's getting pretty late. I think everybody's going to start coming home from work. And so I think I'm going to let you go. I hope you have a really lovely weekend that's coming up, and I hope to see you back next week. If you liked the video, there is a subscribe button. If you could shoot me a thumbs up, that'd be really great. Tell your friends. Hopefully next week I will have some progress to show you on sweaters. And I don't know. I'm in a holding pattern, you guys. Like, there's stuff that I want to talk about that I can't talk about because I'm waiting on other stuff that's waiting on other stuff. It's a terrible cycle. It's just this chain of waiting. It's fantastic. All right. I'm going to go. Okay. You guys have a great day.